Most people run from witches, but true kingdom citizens are not most people. In this hour, there is a remnant of bold, spiritually alert individuals who understand they weren't called to survive witchcraft. They were born to confront it, trap it, and cancel its power at the root. You are not a victim in the spiritual realm. You are a legal agent of heaven. And where you walk, darkness must retreat. Where you speak, confusion must scatter. Where you stand, every unauthorized spirit must bow. The problem is, many believers are reacting to witchcraft with fear, confusion, or silence instead of responding with authority. Witches operate best in ignorance. They depend on your emotional instability, your lack of spiritual knowledge, and your refusal to confront what's happening in the invisible realm. That's why the enemy works overtime to keep you distracted, exhausted, and spiritually blind. But make no mistake, when a witch targets you, it's because they sense your potential. They see what's on you, not just what's around you. They detect that your bloodline is about to shift. They know you're carrying a kingdom assignment that can't be stopped unless it's spiritually sabotaged. So they send spells, confusion, counterfeit relationships, false friendships, and monitoring spirits to derail your purpose. But today we cancel every trap. We reverse every curse. We trap every witch who has been hiding behind false kindness and spiritual manipulation. This message is not about chasing witches, it's about exposing them. It's not about superstition, it's about divine legislation. You don't fight witchcraft with emotion, you fight it with spiritual intelligence and kingdom law. What if I told you that you have the power to trap a witch without touching them? What if I told you that your alignment, your words, and your legal decrees in the spirit realm can cause their spells to boomerang and their assignments to implode? In this prophetic kingdom teaching, you will be equipped to stand as a spiritual judge over your territory. You'll learn how to seal your atmosphere, cancel their rights of access, and activate divine enforcement to trap every witch operating around your destiny. This is your season to walk in boldness, clarity, and dominion. Let's begin. Witchcraft never announces itself loudly. It hides in whispers, dreams, strange patterns, emotional shifts, and sudden atmospheres that do not align with the kingdom of light. If you are not spiritually trained, you will call it coincidence. If you are emotionally wounded, you will think it's your fault. But if you are spiritually alert, if you are walking in alignment with divine order, you will discern when a witch is targeting you. And that discernment is your first weapon. One of the most overlooked signs that you are being spiritually targeted is sudden confusion without cause. When a witch sends out a spiritual attack, it often begins with a clouding of your mind. You may feel like your thoughts are spinning, your decisions are off, or your emotions are unstable, even when nothing external has changed. That's because witchcraft often operates through mind-binding spirits designed to choke your clarity, slow down your momentum, and distort your perception of what is real. It's not just an emotional battle. It's a calculated assault meant to weaken your spiritual discernment. Another sign is unusual fatigue or heaviness, especially during times of spiritual progress or obedience. Witches don't waste energy on people who pose no threat. But the moment you begin to step into alignment with your divine purpose, praying with authority, fasting with intention, cleansing your home, cutting off toxic connections, you may feel a sudden heaviness descend on your body or environment. This is not natural tiredness, it is spiritual resistance. And it often shows up as relentless tiredness, brain fog, or an unshakable sense of oppression that hovers over you like a shadow. That is often a clear indicator that a witch is working against your progress through demonic interference. Be alert to patterns, not just moments. Witches operate in cycles. If you notice that every time you try to advance, whether it's in business, relationships, finances, or spiritual growth, something always pulls you back. This is a signal that a hidden hand may be operating in the background. These patterns often follow the same script. Opportunities open, excitement builds, but just before breakthrough, confusion, strife, or sabotage hits. And it happens not once, but over and over again. That repetition is not life being unfair. It may be witchcraft being persistent. Another major red flag is the presence of monitoring spirits. These often manifest through strange behaviors in people close to you. You may suddenly notice someone asking deep personal questions with no clear reason. They seem interested in your routines, your plans, or your emotions, but their spirit feels off. They always want to know where you've been, know who you're with, or what you're planning under the disguise of concern. These are not just nosy people. In some cases, these are spiritual informants. Witches often send monitoring spirits to gather intel, and if they cannot send demons directly, they will use emotionally unstable people around you as human surveillance tools, especially those with weak spiritual boundaries. Pay attention also to strange dreams. If a witch is targeting you, one of the earliest places they attack is your sleep. Why? Because the dream realm is where spiritual transactions take place. Many people who are spiritually asleep don't realize their destiny is being manipulated at night. If you begin to dream of being chased, bitten by animals, fed strange food, entangled in webs, or seduced by faceless people, these are not just dreams. They are signs of active spiritual warfare. A witch may be attempting to plant fear, initiate soul ties, or even steal spiritual gifts through dreams. These attacks may seem small at first, but if not confronted, they lead to real consequences in waking life, including loss of focus, chronic delay, broken relationships, and emotional instability. One especially dangerous sign is sudden relational sabotage. Witches love to attack covenant connections, the people God placed in your life to help carry out your purpose. They will stir offense where there was peace, ignite arguments where there was trust, and spread rumors or confusion to isolate you. This is a strategic move to disconnect you from your helpers and lock you in spiritual loneliness where you become an easy target. When conflict breaks out suddenly in key relationships without logical cause, stop and pray. That may not be a coincidence. It may be witchcraft trying to cut you off from divine alignment. You must also take seriously any time you feel like someone is watching you when you're alone. This is not paranoia. It's often a sign that a monitoring spirit has been sent to observe your movements, listen to your words, and report back to a demonic altar. If your atmosphere changes suddenly, especially at night, if you feel observed or like your dreams are being hijacked, it's time to spiritually investigate. The spiritual realm responds to sensitivity. If your spirit is uneasy, don't ignore it. Pray, declare, seal your environment. Witches can't operate where spiritual light is constantly maintained. Finally, recognize that witches often don't look like witches. They don't always wear robes, chant spells, or operate from dark corners. Sometimes they come wrapped in smiles, opportunities, or relationships that seem innocent but carry a hidden agenda. A witch can be a colleague, a neighbor, a friend, or even a spiritual figure who carries a counterfeit light. You must test every spirit, not by charisma, but by spiritual alignment. If someone enters your life and suddenly your peace disappears, your prayer life dries up, or strange misfortune begins, pause. Don't look at the person's face. Discern their fruit. Recognizing a witch's attack is not about suspicion, it's about awareness. And awareness is the first key to authority. Once you discern the pattern, you are no longer a victim of confusion. You are now positioned to respond with kingdom power. And once you recognize it, it's time to trap it. Once you recognize the signs that a witch is targeting you, the next step is not panic, it is positioning. You must shift from defense to dominion. In the kingdom of God, you don't trap witches with physical weapons, manipulation, or revenge. You trap them with spiritual jurisdiction. You trap them using laws, decrees, divine alignment, and the power of your spoken authority. A true kingdom citizen does not fight like the world. They legislate from the courts of heaven and enforce from the seat of dominion. The first step in trapping a witch spiritually is establishing legal dominion over your environment. Witches cannot operate in places where they have no spiritual access. The problem is, many people unknowingly give them access through emotional bonds, soul ties, unrepented sin, open doors, or compromised atmospheres. If you want to trap a witch, the first thing you must do is shut every spiritual gate they've been using to enter. This includes cleansing your home, anointing your space, and verbally revoking their access. Every object, every garment, every gift, every word that was spoken over you without your agreement must be addressed. Nothing in your environment should remain spiritually unguarded. Then comes the power of spiritual decrees. Witches operate through words, curses, incantations, and manipulations spoken in the dark. But kingdom citizens are called to speak with governmental authority. Your decrees are not just prayers. They are legal commands issued from your spiritual seat in heavenly places. When you open your mouth and declare, every spell sent against me is reversed and returns to the sender, you are not making a wish. You are activating the angelic forces that respond to divine law. Witches speak fear, you speak fire. Witches send curses, you send judgments. Witches whisper in the night, you decree in the light. Psalmic warfare is also a powerful weapon. Certain psalms function as legal tools of spiritual enforcement. They summon angelic backup, pronounce divine justice, and break the teeth of the wicked. When used with discernment and alignment, these psalms become legal documents in the spirit realm, not just poetic verses. Witches hate when you begin to declare psalms with revelation because it puts them on trial. You are not begging God to move. You are bringing the case before the throne and enforcing a verdict. That is why consistent meditation on and recitation of kingdom-aligned psalms is not just devotional, it is judicial. Another key to spiritually trapping a witch is binding their altars. Witches don't just attack randomly, they operate from altars, spiritual platforms that serve as launching points for their assignments. These altars may be in physical locations, but their power is spiritual. When a witch targets you, it's often because your name, your picture, your clothing, or your words have been taken to an altar for ritual manipulation. That's why you must speak directly to those altars in prayer. Declare that every altar raised against your name is now destroyed by divine fire. Command that every name, photo, or object representing you on a demonic altar be consumed. You don't need to know where the altar is. Your words can reach it, your spirit can locate it, and the authority of the kingdom can silence it. Trapping a witch also requires that you seal your spiritual gates. Your dreams, your ears, your eyes, your emotions, these are all gates through which witchcraft can operate. Witches often access people not through direct attack, but through subtle infiltration, as songs, conversations, emotions, or social media posts that are spiritually coded to pull you out of position. You must guard your gates with intentionality. Speak over your sleep. Declare before you lie down. Tonight, no unclean spirit will access my dream realm. Every spirit on assignment is arrested. My spirit is hidden under divine law, and I sleep in covenant authority. This is not superstition. This is strategic warfare. The more you protect your gates, the harder it is for witches to locate you in the spirit. Perhaps one of the most powerful tactics in spiritually trapping a witch is turning the attack into a courtroom verdict. In the spirit realm, everything is legal. Witches know this. That's why they build cases. They gather evidence, exploit your weaknesses, and then use them to file spiritual charges against you. But what they don't expect is when a kingdom citizen shows up in the courtroom of heaven and begins to file counter petitions. When you stand in prayer and say, every word spoken against me, every false accusation, and every curse is now overturned by divine law, you shift the battle from earth to the courts of the Most High. This is how you trap a witch, by forcing their illegal operation to be judged by the highest authority. You must understand witches are legalists. They only succeed when believers are ignorant of their rights. But the moment you learn how to present your case, use your authority, and stand in alignment, you cut off their power at the source. What they sent will return. What they planned will backfire. What they tried to manipulate will be exposed. And they will find themselves trapped by the very snares they set for you. Because in the kingdom, no weapon formed against you shall prosper when you know how to cancel it by law. And once the trap is set in the spirit, it's only a matter of time before exposure follows in the natural. The moment you spiritually trap a witch, the next phase of warfare must begin immediately, reversing every curse that was sent and sealing your spiritual atmosphere so they cannot return. You must understand something deeply spiritual. Curses are not just words, they are spiritual transactions. often backed by demonic covenants and powered by agreements made in the unseen realm. When a curse is spoken, it looks for legal ground, a wound, a sin, a fear, an unprotected gate to land and take root. That's why it is not enough to simply reject a curse mentally. You must spiritually reverse it, strip it of its power, and close every access point through which it entered. The reversal of a curse starts with identifying the entry point. Was the curse released through envy, a generational bloodline issue, a soul tie, a spoken word in your absence? Was it launched from an altar, a photo, a name written on parchment and bathed in ritual? Once you discern the nature of the curse, you begin the legal dismantling process. Speak it aloud with authority. I cancel every curse spoken against me in the realm of the spirit and the natural. I renounce every agreement made in my name without my consent. I withdraw my image, my voice, my DNA, and my name from every demonic altar, covenant, and contract. By doing this, you are stripping the curse of its legal foundation. Then you must speak the reversal. Many people only cancel curses, but canceling without reversing is like unlocking a jail cell and leaving the prisoner inside. Declare with your mouth, every curse sent to hinder my progress is now reversed into a blessing. Every hex spoken to scatter my relationships is now turned into divine restoration. Every word intended to kill my destiny shall now give life to my divine purpose. You are not just defending, you are legislating a reversal. This is how you flip the script in the spirit. Once curses are reversed, the next step is to cleanse your atmosphere. Curses often leave residue, a spiritual stench, confusion in the air, heaviness in your emotions, or strange patterns in your space. Don't ignore these signs. They are spiritual footprints left by demonic visitors. To cleanse the atmosphere, you must do three things: consecrate, declare, and seal. Start with consecration. Walk through your home with boldness. Anoint your doors, your bed, your windows, your technology, anything that has been used as a portal. Declare, this space is under kingdom jurisdiction. No unclean spirit is permitted to reside here. Every demonic residue is cast out and consumed by divine fire. They speak to the walls, to the air, to the shadows. Your words carry spiritual chemicals. They purify the atmosphere. Then move into declaration. Your home is not just a residence. It is a spiritual embassy. That means you must declare what is allowed and what is not. Say with boldness, only divine presence is welcome here. Peace reigns here. Angels move freely here. No spirit on assignment from darkness has access to this atmosphere. The frequency of this house is holiness, truth, power, and protection. When you declare this daily, you are not being religious. You are building a spiritual perimeter. And finally, you must seal your atmosphere. A sealed atmosphere is one that cannot be accessed or manipulated by witchcraft, curses, or monitoring spirits. One of the most overlooked tactics of witches is re-entry. They leave temporarily, then come back when your guard is down. That's why you don't just cleanse, you seal, speak it, and believe it. By divine authority, I seal this space with kingdom law. Every open portal is now shut. Every breach is repaired. Every access point is guarded by warring angels. I place divine surveillance over my atmosphere and declare that all spiritual movement is monitored and every intruder is intercepted. Another way to seal your atmosphere is through worship. Witches hate atmospheres saturated with praise, worship, and the fear of God. Sound shifts the spirit realm. When you play worship that is rooted in truth and kingdom revelation, it changes the frequency of your space. Demons cannot function in environments that exalt divine authority. Your worship is not emotional. It is spiritual technology. It becomes a shield, a fortress, a soundproof barrier that suffocates demonic movement. Don't forget the role of silence either. After you reverse a curse and seal your atmosphere, resist the urge to rediscuss the witch, the attack, or the trauma. Talking about them too much reopens the access you just closed. Witches operate through attention. They feed off of fear and fascination. When you move in silence after spiritual warfare, you choke the monitoring spirits and starve the enemy of access to your reactions. Let your silence testify that the matter is closed and sealed under divine jurisdiction. And remember, sealing your atmosphere is not a one-time event, it is a lifestyle. Just like in the natural, your house needs regular cleaning. Your spirit, your space, your relationships, and your routines must be kept under constant divine inspection. Check for leaks, discern for disturbances. Don't let weariness open a window. Don't let disappointment become a door. Stay sealed, stay saturated, stay centered. Because when your atmosphere is sealed by divine law, no witch can find a foothold, no curse can find a landing strip, and no spell can survive the climate of the kingdom. After all the declarations, after the warfare, after the reversal of curses and the sealing of your atmosphere, there is one truth that determines whether your victory will be permanent or temporary: kingdom alignment. Without it, all your authority is unstable. Without it, your spiritual weapons may fire, but not hit their mark. Without it, your protection has gaps. But when you are aligned with the government of the kingdom, when your thoughts, lifestyle, relationships, words, and motives all reflect heaven's order, you become a vessel that cannot be touched, tracked, or twisted by witchcraft. Witches are legalists. They do not simply cast spells randomly. They operate through legal openings in the spirit. They search for violations in your alignment, doors left open through rebellion, unrepented sin, bitterness, disobedience, or ignorance of divine protocol. These gaps in alignment give them access to accuse, to enter, and to afflict. This is why the most powerful form of spiritual warfare is not just shouting oil or psalms. It is obedience. Obedience is alignment in action. When your life matches the pattern of the kingdom, the witch's access is revoked. You are hidden under divine covering, not just in prayer, but in posture. Alignment begins in the heart. You can speak powerfully with your mouth, but if your motives are off, if pride, revenge, or personal gain drive your actions, your spiritual authority is weakened. Kingdom alignment means your heart has been synchronized with divine order. You don't just want deliverance. You want transformation. You're not just interested in stopping a witch. You want your life to reflect the glory of the King. This inner purity becomes a shield. It makes you undetectable in the realm of darkness because demons cannot trace holiness. They track sin. They track disorder. But a life yielded to kingdom righteousness becomes invisible to their radar. Next, alignment shows in your relationships. A kingdom-aligned life does not fellowship with darkness. Many people lose their spiritual protection because they are trying to fight witches while still being soul-tied to one. You cannot trap what you still tolerate. Kingdom alignment requires separation, not just physical, but spiritual and emotional. The people you allow into your atmosphere carry spiritual baggage. If you are aligned with someone walking in rebellion, their warfare becomes your warfare. That's why the Scripture warns us not to be unequally yoked, not just in marriage, but in friendships, business, and even ministry. When you align yourself with kingdom values, your words carry more weight. Decrees become declarations that are backed by divine law. This is why some people pray for hours with no results, while others speak a few sentences and things begin to shift. The difference is alignment. When you are in right standing with divine order, heaven recognizes your voice. Your words are not wishful, they are lawful. You are not begging God to intervene. You are enforcing what He has already authorized. This legal dimension of prayer is unlocked only by alignment. Another layer of alignment is your schedule and priorities. Witches thrive in the chaos of undisciplined lives. If your daily life is disordered, your spirit becomes vulnerable. Kingdom alignment requires structure. Do you set time aside for divine instruction? Is your home governed by spiritual routines that reflect honor, worship, and order? Or is your life so reactive that demons can manipulate your time, your energy, and your focus through distractions? Alignment includes how you use your hours. The enemy sends warfare not just to oppress, but to disorganize. An unaligned life gives the witch access to patterns that heaven cannot protect. But when your time is submitted to divine priority, your protection is sustained. Don't overlook alignment in speech. What you say, what you joke about, what you confess in weakness, all of it shapes your spiritual climate. A kingdom-aligned believer guards their tongue. Words spoken in frustration can become curses. Jokes spoken in insecurity can open spiritual doors. Gossip spoken in ignorance can become agreements with darkness. But when your speech is aligned with truth, honor, and power, you don't just protect yourself, you build a wall around your destiny. Every sentence becomes a brick in your fortress. Kingdom alignment also touches your submission to divine authority. Many people want to command demons, but are unwilling to be submitted to anyone spiritually. This is a contradiction. Even angels operate under rank and submission. If you are rebellious to divine leadership, your spiritual rank is unstable. Alignment requires humility. It demands that you sit under wisdom, accountability, and instruction so that your authority is matured and validated. Demons recognize rebellion because that's the nature of their kingdom. But when you submit under divine alignment, your authority becomes legally binding in the courts of heaven. Lastly, alignment reveals itself in consistency. The enemy doesn't just test your power, he tests your pattern. Will you still pray when no one is watching? Will you still worship when the warfare feels unending? Will you still obey when the blessing is delayed? Kingdom alignment is not seasonal, it is a sustained position, and that is what makes it so powerful. A believer who stays aligned becomes a spiritual firewall. They don't have to fight every battle. Some demons pass over them automatically because there is no entry point, no opening, no weakness to exploit. This is why alignment is your greatest weapon. It is not flashy, but it is final. When your life is aligned with the kingdom, every curse loses its grip, every demon loses its rights, and every witch loses their power. Now that you understand the signs, the weapons, and the divine strategies, it's time to shift from revelation to activation. Knowledge without action is spiritual negligence. This is not the hour for passive understanding. This is the hour for prophetic enforcement. This is the moment when kingdom citizens rise in power, not just to survive witchcraft, but to dismantle it. If you've been stalked by monitoring spirits, if curses have followed your bloodline, if strange cycles have wrapped around your progress, this is your appointed hour to trap the witch and break every system sent to drain your destiny. First, we must declare full spiritual jurisdiction. You cannot trap what you have not claimed authority over. In this moment, declare in your atmosphere, I take back authority over my life, my mind, my home, my finances, my health, my family, and my future. This declaration is not poetic, it is legal. Every demonic spirit working through witchcraft respects jurisdiction. They thrive in the unclaimed, the unspoken, and the spiritually neglected. But when you name your territory and mark it with spiritual law, you immediately begin constructing boundaries that witches cannot bypass. Now speak directly into the spiritual realm and say, every hidden witch, every monitoring spirit, every cursed object, every soul tie, and every demonic altar raised against me, I locate you now by divine light, and I trap you in your own assignment. Let this not be words alone. Let this be the moment when heaven's enforcement team, warring angels and divine messengers are released into your case. Angels are not sent for emotion. They are sent for command. When you speak as a citizen of the kingdom, aligned with divine will, your voice becomes their instruction. Next, apply prophetic pressure. Speak this. I reverse every curse, I silence every chant, I dissolve every hex, and I cancel every ritual by the authority of divine justice. I call for immediate spiritual retaliation and legal reversal. These aren't just emotional affirmations, they are courtroom decrees. Witchcraft operates through demonic contracts. Your job is to break them by invoking higher laws, kingdom laws. There is no spell, no potion, no demonic alignment that can override a decree made from the realm of righteousness. You are not requesting, you are legislating. Now release angelic assignments. Say, let warring angels now enter every dimension of my life. Let them uproot, expose, and scatter every hidden altar, every occult agreement, and every demonic portal. Let no witch hide in my circle, in my family, or in my region. Let every system of spiritual surveillance be shattered now. This is where your authority activates divine intelligence. Angels will go where your physical eyes cannot. They will move through dreams, conversations, atmospheres, and even institutions, dismantling everything the enemy has built to monitor or manipulate you. Now speak over your physical environment. Walk through your space and say, I cleanse every room with the fire of divine presence. I command every cursed object, every unclean residue, every spiritual fingerprint left by witches or demons to be burned up and expelled from this territory. I seal every door, every window, every crack with kingdom power. This is not religious ritual. This is spiritual legislation. You are establishing your atmosphere as hostile territory to witchcraft. No demon should feel comfortable in your house. No curse should feel welcomed in your presence. You are declaring spiritual eviction. Now break every tie. Speak boldly. I cut every soul tie connected to witches, warlocks, false prophets, jealous friends, toxic lovers, and any person used by demonic forces to drain, monitor, or limit me. I revoke emotional contracts. I cancel sexual soul ties. I reject witchcrafted friendships. I divorce every covenant I never consciously agreed to. This step is critical because many people fail to trap the witch due to hidden attachments. If the enemy has access to your emotions, he still has an anchor in your life. But when you cut the tie, you cut the leash. Now rebuild your wall. Declare, from this moment forward, my life is aligned with divine order. I walk in discipline, purity, spiritual intelligence, and obedience. I am hidden under the shadow of divine law. Every strategy of the enemy is now made void. I decree continuous fire around my destiny. I am spiritually dangerous. This is not just a personal declaration. It is a spiritual rebirth. You are not returning to a fearful version of yourself. You are walking out of this moment with a different scent in the realm of the Spirit. You no longer smell like prey. You now smell like a problem to the kingdom of darkness. Now release the final command. Stand in your spiritual posture and say, I issue a spiritual arrest warrant for every unrepentant witch assigned to my life. Let them be exposed, removed, and rendered powerless. Let every altar fall. Let every weapon fail. Let every plan backfire. From this moment, I enforce total lockdown on demonic surveillance and trap every spirit of witchcraft in the very pit it came from. I do not negotiate. I legislate. This is where the trap is sprung, not by your emotion, but by your alignment and legal enforcement. This is not superstition. This is divine strategy. You have now spoken, legislated, and activated heaven's order on earth. You are not the same. You are not exposed. You are covered. You are not chased. You are in charge. You are not confused. You are activated. And from this moment, the trap is set. Every witch, every demon, every unclean force has been cornered by divine law.